All right, my first NASCAR race since the Sirius satellite radio at the Glen on Mother's Day weekend, and this was personally my first NASCAR race without Kyle Busch. I mean, it still feels so unrealistic saying that, considering just like the Biff, I grew up with watching him for almost maybe most of my life watching NASCAR. Almost all of my life I grew up watching Biffle, so that really hurt more than Kyle Busch. And I can't believe I'm saying that only because Biffle had it made more bigger impact on me than Kyle Busch did. Not to mention I met Biffle in person. Sadly, I only met Kyle Busch in person for like maybe 2 seconds when I was like literally, getting my Mac on with his wife Samantha and literally shook her hand when Braxton, who was a baby, had basically she happily responded by having him as a baby shake my hand, but that was pretty much it considering, I watched Biff a hell of a lot longer than Kyle Busch as far as the Winston Cup level goes. So therefore, yeah, literally Biffle was the closest one to getting the Triple Crown, which will be an alternate history series on NASCAR 6 in this channel one day. Here's a silent lap 8. Even if he didn't have as much of an impact on me as a NASCAR fan as Biffle did, I'm glad I got to be part of that tribute for myself for the first time ever. And yes, I did hold up 8 fingers, even though it'll always be more Dale Jr.'s number than Kyle Busch's number. But anyway, onto the race itself. I mean, Zane Smith and John Hunter Nemechek, especially the latter of the two, was the man of the hour. They both had a great race going, especially JHN, which we'll talk about him a little later, literally. But he was even fighting for the lead with Tyler Reddick multiple times, who, along with, his boss Denny Hamlin, which we'll talk about him a hell of a lot later, have been the best drivers of 2025 and literally have been the drivers to beat. And unfortunately, just like MIS last week, basically, when I MIS demo derby that my dad and I missed out on in person, but our third year of not going, basically not showing up. I mean, his good luck unfortunately ran out. Literally had a good race, but did not, get the end result he was looking for to like close the deal. And this was literally just probably the biggest wreck of the day, but it really wasn't a big wreck. Let's say it was maybe the small one at Pocono. And yeah, Gregson, I would have been upset about Gregson getting involved, but and Austin running poorly, but not today because this was John Hunter Nemechek's race to basically the best race of his career. And literally, as you saw by that clip with Noah, I was wondering, why is he going the wrong way down the pit road? I mean, no, wrong way down the front straightaway, excuse me. I think he was just trying to shortcut into the pits, and I guess NASCAR understood he wasn't trying to be reckless and shit, so they just let it go. But man, talk about, a modern day Petty Enterprises resurgence. I know this is a stupid ass question, but where the fuck was this shit with Kyle Petty in the 45 and when it was basically his son's leftover riding team from when I was a kid when Sprint left to make room for Georgia Pacific when the 44 went to part-time and Buckshot and then later Jerry Nadeau left. But man, the ghost of John Andretti really was, power and basically powering that 43 to a great run, and literally the ghost of Adam and even Kenny Irwin Jr. in terms of the 42 alone was literally powering Nemechek, and literally the most random stage winner on a non-plate track. I did not expect, a random fucker to win a stage on a non-plate track. So kudos to Todd Gilliland and Look Away Kamikaze Games. Casey Mears picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel after that, stage 3 restart, and this was the race-winning pass by good old James Allen, Dennis Hamlin. So again, congratulations to my friend Jordan Fish and my other friend, their oldest daughter, Taylor James Hamlin, on your husband / pop's victory. I mean, he continues his dominance at the Pocono Raceway. Unfortunately, Gibbs had, the better momentum than, Petty did, where it was, Petty on the outside, Gibbs on the inside, and literally I guess the Gibbs guys had more motor than the Petty guys. That's what got Hamlin out in front to win this race, considering Christopher Bell was literally in the catbird seat. I mean, no stage points, obviously, but this is his only shot to like win the race. And, if something go his way, literally racing on basically one hand with that, fucked up wrist, I think it is. I could be mistaken. I know he fucked up something in his hand, but literally he was driving with one hand, literally almost won on a fuel mileage gamble. And I even said, shout out to G2V Racing. The last time Adam Stevens tried something like this, that basically that shit didn't even work. Literally, he tried to get fuel saving. It blew up in his face, and sadly, it just blew up in his face again. Christopher Bell knew he wasn't going to win the race after his teammate passed him, so he just let the thing run dry so he could go pit for fuel. At least he made it to the pits before running out. Otherwise, it would have set up some stupid overtime bullshit and altered the outcome of this race. But literally, from Ned Jarrett to Brett Bodine, personally, from my point of view, based off nostalgia from my experience, to Denny, the number 11 continues to be the most successful number in the history of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, and he's officially passed Kyle Busch on the all-time wins list with 64. Rest in peace, Rowdy. But I gotta talk about my man, John Hunter Nemechek. It's like, dude, where the fuck did the speed at Petty Enterprises come from in that 42 and 43 car? You guys really, rocked the Pocono 500 like Rob Riggle as a whole organization. Well, JHN himself, rocked the Tricky Triangle like Terry Labonte and Rock and Roll Jeopardy. In Jesus' name, boogity, 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 amen. I know this is a stupid question with an obvious answer, but it has to be asked just for the hell of it. Where the fuck was this shit when I was a kid with Kyle Petty in Adam's old number 45 and John Andretti in this exact same 43 car? It's like, bitch, I've been waiting a long ass time for this shit to see any of my drivers do this well on a semi-consistent basis. Another thing, other than the two Brickyard 400s he blew, especially the one that stung in big time for 15-year-old me, and of course Watkins Glen in 2010, and Richmond 2013, and Dover, let's say year in the Pontiac Excitement 400 and MBNA Platinum 400 to be exact. Why the fuck couldn't Montoya do this in a number 42 car that was under the Ganassi banner that was mostly in the Sandhurst house in Brook Park when I was a teenager at Berea High School during the victorious year? Better late than never, I suppose, but my God. Either way, I'll take what I can get. Sometimes you gotta take the good with the bad. The kid and teen versions of me went through literal hell in NASCAR with KP45 and JPM42. Now the current adult version of me in Sandy Ridge, including the part of the young adult pre-pandemic version of me from the OG Sandy Ridge era, including 3 Live and La Vida Lab Rats years with Kelly Bergland and Disney XD, is experiencing the exact opposite. Well, maybe some semi-success with, Austin, now JHN, and even Zane Smith. So 3 of the 6. Noah, Riley, and Ty better pick up the pace already. I see, Riley picking up the pace first and Noah too, considering, if all the Fords can get their shit together and basically Noah can start exactly running like way good as well as Zane is running eventually, or if he ends up leaving front row like it's rumored and goes to RCR to be Austin's teammate, then at least, Noah will have a semi-good chance of starting to run well, let alone get his first career Winston Cup win. And I think, with Riley potentially going to Petty next year, with today's winner and MJ pulling the trigger on Heim Time to get him in that, ride, and in return booting Riley out, I see, Riley benefiting from, JHN's, notes that basically he already has, which is like allowing him to run so well, and that JHN can pass it over to Riley, and the dream scenario is, renumber the 84 to the 44, to which, NY Racing gives up the 44, basically. But that's just a dream scenario, because damn well they ain't going to give it up unless they do this crazy hypothetical dream scenario from the point of view of a lifelong Petty fan, and, get rid of JJ Yaley's bum ass, and basically it'll convince, other teams in NASCAR and the Grand National, Craftsman, and Winston Cup Series to stop hiring that bum, who literally overstayed his welcome, couldn't drive for Ash, replacing Bobby Labonte, considering, Gibbs really did pour Bobby dirty and at the, basically in favor of that, fucking wannabe next Tony Stewart that Gibbs proclaimed him to be. Yeah, get the fuck out. But hey, a man can dream, right? A Petty is a form of a Petty fan, a Nemechek fan, and an anti-JJ Yaley fan, and a Herbst fan, no less. So I think Herbst will benefit next year from, how well Nemechek's running, which, Petty, Nemechek, and Jimmy and Mickey Bain can, pass those notes in the 42 team down to Riley's, potential new team next year. And basically Riley will start running well. So we'll see. I will have a video sometime later throughout the summer to address this matter of, Riley getting replaced and potentially going to be to that third Petty car. And of course, about Watkins Glen getting put back into the chase for the Cup after NASCAR realized that putting it this early in the season for it to be in the Fox portion of the year for the first and probably only time was not a good idea. So have a good night tonight and a better day tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Good night, and I will see you all for the next video, which will be regarding the Spurs, literally a 2025-26 season in review, in which I'll have more to say in that video in regards to what literally was their best season since the first year Duncan stepped away when he hung up the jersey in my 23rd year as a fan, literally the first fun year for me since then as a fan. So therefore, there's going to be a shitload to say in that video, so you won't want to miss it. So next race will be San Diego for the Naval Base Coronado, with the weather not looking up to par next Sunday, either here at home in the happy place in Northeast Ohio we call Sandy Ridge. It looks like we're going to be watching that shit too. And I sure as hell can't fucking wait, because after whatever the hell that was from Wembenyama and the Spurs, I definitely needed a little NASCAR in my life again, immediately, right off the bat, to get my mind off of it. So therefore, I used the Spurs as a distraction from the whole Kyle Busch tragedy. Now I'm using NASCAR as a distraction from, that, bitter defeat by Wembenyama and the Spurs and the way they lost in dramatic fashion, especially the Game 4 collapse. So how the tables have turned in two of the the three things I'm best known for. So see you later, everyone. And as always, let's go, Nemechek. Let's go.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.